Now after the mesh method option in local mesh setting, we will be now discussing about the sizing option. Sizing option again is one of the local mesh settings that we have to see. Now let us first understand what is sizing. The sizing control sets the element size for a selected body, face or edge. This setting overrides the default global sizing. That means if we have given a global element size in the global mesh settings, and after that if I use a sizing control, this sizing control will override the previous setting, means it will ignore the previous setting and it will give the new setting that we have used in the sizing option. And basically this option will be used to give different element sizes for different parts in an assembly. That means whenever you are working with assemblies, each component in the assembly is of different size and shape. Therefore, I need to have a unique element size for every component in that assembly. During that time, I can use the sizing option. Okay. So after that, we will also be discussing about one more local mesh setting that is called as refinement. The refinement control specifies the maximum number of meshing refinements that are applied to the initial mesh. Refinement controls are valid for faces, edges and vertices. The refinement number can be defined between 1 to 3, where 1 provides the minimum refinement and 3 provides the maximum refinement. So what is the meaning of refinement? Once you get the meshing, if you still want to refine the meshing to the next level, you can use the refinement option. And this refinement option is only valid for faces, edges and vertices. That means this refinement cannot be applied on solid geometries or solid bodies. And the refinement control is between 1 to 3. Okay. So now let us understand how to use both these options. So we will come to the software, we will add one mechanical model and let us add one assembly. So now what I'm going to do over here is I will add one assembly over here and then we will enter into the mechanical window. Now once you are in the mechanical window, you can see that we have an assembly this time that we are going to mesh. We have already discussed about the assembly contacts, so now you know how to give the assembly contacts. We have the contacts over here. Okay, so for every contact region you can assign a specific contact. We have all these components over here. Now first thing what I'm going to do over here is we will perform the default mesh for the entire assembly. Now once you perform the default meshing, you can see over here the mesh that has been generated. The first thing is that because of the default mesh setting, it has generated a coarse mesh. Let us have a look at the number of elements and nodes generated. Now, what I need to do is, I need to give a unique element size. Now, if I give this element size over here, it will be a global mesh setting. Now, suppose if I give a global mesh setting element size of 2, what will happen? It will try to fit element size of 2 on all the components. Now I don't need, because this element size will be very fine for some parts and very coarse for some parts. So for that reason, what I want to do is I want to give unique element sizes for every component. For that we are going to add a sizing control. Now once you add the sizing control, first select the component on which you want to add the sizing. Now in this case what I am going to do is I am going to add the sizing for this body over here. Okay. Once the body has been selected, okay, let me add for this and for this shaft over here. And for both the components I need an element size of 3 units. After that I will update the machine. So now what will happen is it will try to give me an element size of 3 on both the components over here. Once the meshing has been done, click on the meshing to view the meshing. This body did not get selected. Now view it. You can see that this meshing over here has become very fine. Similarly, now this part is slightly large in size, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an element size of 5 units on this component over here, and I will update the meshing again. If you click on meshing, now you can see, look at the meshing that has become finer. So here on these two components I have a mesh size of 3 units. On this component I have a mesh size of 5 units. Similarly, I will add another sizing control for all these 4 bolts, and I will select the 4 bolts by using the control key, apply, and here I will mention an element size of 1.5 units and I will update it. So if you click over here, now you can observe that the element sizing on the bolt has become much more finer. And lastly, we have the shaft in the center. So for that, again I'll add a size control, I'll select the component and I'll enter an element size of 3 units again, or let us say 2.5 units, and update the meshing again. So with this you can see that you have generated the mesh by giving a unique element size on every component in this assembly. If you want, you can also use the size control for a specific face. So for that, you change the selection filter to a face, select the face and give the element size. So here I will say I want an element size of 2 units. So on the entire model you have a mesh size of 3 units, but on this particular face I want a mesh size of 2 units. After the meshing is done, you can see it. So you can see very closely that I have given a unique element size of 2 units on this face alone. Okay. Now in this case, look at this component over here, the circular plate. Okay, now this circular plate has a small chamfer over here and over here, but I have given an element size of 5 units, because of which I am not getting finer meshing over here. So for refine, now what is my requirement is that I need to only refine the elements on this chamfer. So for that, I will add another mesh control of refinement. Now if you see over here in selection filters, you can only select faces, edges and vertices. Body selection is not allowed. Now I am going to select this face, this face, this and this. That means I have selected all the chamfered areas, and now I have to give a refinement. So as we discussed in the PPT, the refinement is only from 1 to 3. You cannot go beyond 3, you cannot go beyond 1 over here. If I say that the refinement, okay, before I update the mesh, please observe the number of elements. It is 1,06,725. Now let us go for the first level of refinement. Look at the elements first before refining, and now I will update the meshing. So what happens is the elements on this face will be refined by 1 level. We don't know by how much it will reduce the element size. See, can you see this? The elements have been refined over here, and the elements also have increased. So from 1,06,000 it has increased to 1,39,000. If I go for another level of refinement, that is second level of refinement, and if I update the meshing, so let us look at the meshing now. Can you see the refinement has gone to the second level? So it has become much more finer. Okay. After that, if you go for the third level of meshing, which is the maximum refinement that we can achieve, update the meshing. Okay, so the refinement has been done. Click on the meshing and now look at the meshing. So it has refined much more than the second level. Okay, so from this you can understand what are the sizing options, how to use the sizing options in local mesh settings, and how to use the refinement options in local mesh settings.